66 cars are in the city's impound lot because of street takeovers at the very moment, confiscated by police. It's part of our top story tonight on the WHAS 11 night team. Hello, everybody. I'm Doug Prophet. Seized over the past 6 months thanks to a new city ordinance. But just 2 weeks ago, a deadly case of street racing killed an innocent driver in Louisville. WHAS 11 night team's Alexandra Goldberg and photojournalist Elijah McKenzie have more now on how Kentucky lawmakers plan to move fast on new laws. And Alexandra, this street racing crash has caught their attention.
Well, Doug, we've heard it before, but authorities are serious about car crushing legislation. Folks like Mayor Craig Greenberg, LMPD Chief Paul Humphrey, and state lawmakers think that the appropriate next step is to craft a law that would crush the cars of convicted street racers. And we could see legislation introduced as soon as January.
This street race on Bardstown Road 2 weeks ago, fatal and in broad daylight.
They're doing it willfully. They know what they're doing. They're being dangerous. They don't care about anybody else. They do care about their car. And so I want them to watch it get crushed.
Police say it was on this strip of Bardstown Road where 77-year-old Myrtle Wacker was hit and killed by street racers. In a courtroom this week, the detective on the case says this man, Yusenier Pacheco Bernal, was driving at 119 miles per hour and never touched the brake. We asked the Metro Police Chief about the crash.
It's egregious. And somebody's life was lost in this incident. Another life was horribly turned upside down, and I fully support prosecuting them to the fullest extent of the law.
Police say racing on this part of Bardstown Road is common. The attorney representing Wacker pleaded her case in court.
There is no question that he was involved in racing. We saw the video. He was going more than 100 miles per hour. He wasn't just being passed by another car.
Bernal, the driver of the white Mustang, is charged with complicity to murder.
I find probable cause for all of the counts that are before Mr. Pacheco as well.
Adam Steele was driving the blue BMW. Bernal and Steele are facing wanton endangerment and racing charges.
So we will push for legislation to be able to seize these cars and destroy them permanently.
Kentucky Representative Jason Nemes of Middletown says just seizing cars isn't enough.
And we're very serious about it. I think not only should we crush the car, we should make them watch it.
The chief sees this as another deadly crime, among others impacting Louisville on a record level.
Violent crime is our priority, but keeping people safe is number one. And so whether that's traffic enforcement or violent crime interruption, we're going to do both of those.
One crackdown they can accomplish right away.
Well, Humphrey told me today that he thinks that legislation like this would be best crafted at the state level, but he's getting local support here too. As I mentioned before, Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg announced his support for car crushing earlier this fall. Live in Louisville, Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS 11 night team, on your side, Doug.
That's right, Alexandra. Republicans and Democrats coming together on this. Thank you. Louisville Metro Police Chief Paul Humphrey was also asked today about the recent conviction of former Metro Police Detective Brent Hankison, charged with depriving Briana Taylor of her civil rights. Humphrey testified during that federal trial. He was the leader of the LMPD training division back in 2020. During testimony, he said he couldn't understand Hankison's decision to fire his weapon that night. Today, Humphrey says he hopes the community feels a sense of justice after the major verdict.
I'll tell you exactly what I told officers is that I wouldn't expect any of them to behave the way that that detective did that day. Plain and simple. It's unacceptable. Whether or not he was indicted by a grand jury, whether or not he was charged, whether or not he was found guilty, doesn't matter to me. That's not the behavior that's acceptable. It's not okay.
Strong words from the chief on that today. Hankison will be sentenced in March. He's facing a maximum of life in prison. It is important to note that he was only found guilty on one of the two charges. The federal jury acquitted him on charges that he violated the civil rights of Briana Taylor's apartment neighbors. We are learning today that an FBI investigation has ended with no charges for a Metro police officer. That officer was seen shooting a WAVE TV news crew with pepper balls during the second day of the massive 2020 protests that took over downtown Louisville. The chief says the officer faces no more disciplinary action. The department gave Detective Dustin Dean a letter of reprimand. And after 3 years of being assigned to desk duty, the chief says that's discipline enough. These pepper balls seen right here are what hit the WAVE TV photojournalist in the neck as he was covering the protest. The chief says because of the chaos of the moment and the officer's inability to see due to the bright lights of the news crews, he believes no wrongdoing occurred.
I also factor in how Officer Dean behaved afterwards. He had the option to be a bad employee, and he took the high road, took this on, accepted the fact that he was under investigation, accepted the fact that that he was being investigated criminally by the FBI for civil rights violations, accepted the fact that he made a mistake.
Officer Dean is now back on the streets as a 7th Division detective. Since this incident, Metro Police say they've made several changes to the ways they instruct officers on the use of force. Well, the department and the city are still negotiating an oversight agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice. The future of that department is now uncertain, though, with Donald Trump back in the White House. That's because the president-elect has said several times that he plans to overhaul the U.S. Justice Department. While we don't know what that could look like, we do know historically Trump's Justice Departments have not used consent decrees. In his first term, just one police department had a patterns and practice investigation opened compared to the 12 under President Joe Biden.
What we're concerned is that it may slip back and it may lead us to a long delay in getting the reform that the people here in Louisville need with the Louisville Police Departments.
I can't predict what the next administration will do, and all I can tell you is that we're going to continue working our tails off trying to get this thing done. And
Chief Humper said they are making good progress on the current negotiations underway with the feds, and he believes they will have an agreement in place sometime by the end of this year. Sources tell ABC News that among his first actions, Donald Trump plans to fire the FBI Director Chris Wray and to get rid of the career prosecutors who worked on the criminal cases against him at the Department of Justice. The president-elect also made clear he will fire the special counsel Jack Smith, who brought those 44 charges against him. Sources do tell ABC News as well that Smith is in active talks with DOJ leadership about ending both cases against Donald Trump. Well, President Joe Biden speaking to the nation earlier this afternoon for the first time today since his vice president conceded the election to Donald Trump. Biden today promising a peaceful transition of power. ABC News also reporting the president and Kamala Harris will be attending Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20th.
I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America.
And the transition process has already started. Today, President-elect Trump announcing his campaign manager, Susie Summerall Wiles, will be his White House chief of staff. Wiles is the first woman to ever hold that role and is widely credited with helping keep Donald Trump disciplined during his campaign.
Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background.
On the other side of the aisle, Democrats are scrambling to find out what went wrong across the board. The White House and Senate going to the GOP control, and it appears the House is headed in that same direction. Late this afternoon, Republicans flipped another seat in the U.S. Senate, bringing further cementing their lead in the chamber. In the House, 25 races are still in play, but Republicans have already flipped 3 seats in their favor. And as Democrats look to the future, it may lie right here in Kentucky. Governor Andy Beshear is the most popular Democratic governor in the nation. Beshear was even in the running to join Harris's ticket as vice president. Today, Beshear was asked if he has any ambition for a run for president in 2028.
We'll see what the future holds in the future, but right now, my only focus is on this job, is about making sure I continue to stand up for Kentuckians and all Americans to ensure that their rights are respected.
Beshear also promised to work with any administration for the benefit of Kentuckians. His term as Kentucky governor, by the way, ends at the end of 2027. New charges tonight in the case of an 8-month-old found dead in Reynolds Station, Kentucky. Now, that's about an hour and a half west of Louisville. Baby Maya Rudd was missing for weeks before Kentucky State Police launched an investigation. Now, 8 people have been arrested. Today, 50-year-old Talitha Tucker was charged for her alleged involvement. The baby's mother and father, Tesla Tucker and Cage Rudd, were the last to see her alive. In June, troopers found Maya's body in their home under a pile of debris. And during the investigation, KSP found the parents were allegedly running a drug operation out of the home. Tesla had 3 other children as well in the custody of her mother, Talitha Tucker. Today, Talitha is facing new charges of abuse of children and aiding fugitives. Troopers found after drug testing the 3 kids in her care, 2 of them tested positive for meth and cannabis. They also found that she gave Mia's mother's parents money to help them hide from police over the summer. Detectives are still waiting for the medical examiner's report on the little girl.